Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show.
Hold music. You want to avoid it, and so do your customers. So say goodbye to hold music and hello to faster, smarter support with Salesforce. Make service more personal and agents more productive using built-in trusted AI. Then watch costs and wait times drop and satisfaction soar. Support customers in a whole new way with Service GPT. Learn how at salesforce.com/service GPT.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I have a very interesting and unique guest on the show today. His name is Jake Tullis. He's a blockchain hedge fund manager. We'll find out about all what that means, and he's going to talk about transforming his life through consistency. He's going to talk about fitness, finding happiness, and he's also going to talk about the work that he does with his blockchain hedge fund. And just as a quick disclaimer, this is not financial advice. We are just discussing topics, and always do your due diligence. So, Jake, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I appreciate the disclaimer. I never forget it. You might hear it a few more times because the line of work I do and my partners, they're always very, like, oh, you got to make sure when I make the content. So I appreciate you making that disclaimer and having me on the show. I'm excited. These are all topics that I am very passionate about. So
yeah. I think the work that you do is really interesting. It's just attracted a lot of bad people, and especially from the events of last year, we have to be very mindful as influencers, how we come across and, for the safety of the audience. So tell people about your story, your background, how you got started, and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, I will attempt to be concise. That is a struggle that I have. I'm very detail oriented, so I feel like I have to mention every detail. But my career started young. I've always been interested in making money myself. I have a authority issue, conformity issue, whatever you want to call it. I've been fired from every job I've had. I think I had 9 jobs, just really struggle with taking direction from anyone. So I had quite the tumultuous career. I started pushing lawns so I could build a PC to play World of Warcraft. And I kind of got my tech bug then. I was probably 12 or 13. Taught myself how to program websites, phone apps. Then eventually I had a software development company. Exited that in 2016, had some startups after that. And throughout my kind of, I guess, Web 2 entrepreneurial experience, I had a really awful time with the bank. To spare any risks here, I just went into this bank. I had to deposit and transfer $60,000 to Islamabad, Pakistan. That's where I had around 12 developers at the time. And I was 19, and they thought I was a terrorist cell. So the banker lied to me. And they locked me in the banker room until someone from the FBI field office could come down and talk to me, for 2 hours about why I was wiring money to, a terrorist state or a state nation that's on a specific list. I forget at this point. I totally was terrified and didn't care at all. I just felt violated. So from that moment on, I was like, there's got to be a better way. I don't like this at all. And that kind of led me down Ripple. That was probably my first investment, my first intrigue into blockchain. And since 2017, I haven't really looked back. I got the bug. I just love the technology. I love the creators in the space. It's really where you're going to find the smartest and brightest in terms of computer science. It's the bleeding edge. That's where I like to live. So, yeah, just, trauma with a traditional bank and saying, screw it, don't want to do that. That it was a pretty crappy experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting because your story resonates with a lot of millennials and Gen Z, and basically the financial system kind of shutting out and just kind of limiting access and kind of giving favoritism to the rich elites, and then kind of screwing over Main Street. So, like this whole industry, again, when you're talking about a leading edge, and especially with the crypto industry or blockchain, it's kind of like technology, and it's kind of this Gardner hype cycle where it's just like people get in. It's really interesting, but then it attracts a lot of scams and bad actors. But it's also enabled a lot of creators such as yourself and others kind of to create this ecosystem, to make a living, actually thrive and do well. Again, we always have to throw caution against the scammers and the bad actors out there, which is quite interesting. So, I totally resonate with your idea. I became an entrepreneur because I did not like being told what to do by just some arbitrary person. So, we share the same belief structures. So, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of others. So,
Absolutely, especially if they're listening to productive podcasts. It's not a very sexy thing to do, right? So,
yeah,
pat yourselves back for tuning into stuff like this and finding your your like-kin souls out here in this world.
yeah,
To that point, the best argument I have for blockchain, and it's an argument I make constantly for my fund. I personally am a value investor. I believe that you should not invest in anything to which you're going to let go of in the next 5 years, and you should not use any capital that you would need in the next 5 years. And for you to have enough conviction to hold technology for 5 years with it being so fast paced and innovative, you have to really understand what you are buying. And that's the first rule of investing in general. Now, I subscribe to very successful, long standing strategies like dollar cost averaging, which is super simple for the average person to do, to set up. It could take 10 minutes. And if it was just 5% of what you're investing for retirement, blockchain consistently, if you zoom out and relax, can return easily 20 to 200% in large cap assets that are very conservative. And compounding that over a 10, 20-year period compared to the S&P 500 or treasury bills or any other asset that you'd be choosing, it's unmatched. You could retire earlier. You could have more liquidity younger to make bigger moves to set your family up financially, things like that, where the biggest problem we have in this space are the crypto bros, the degens, the people who are trying to, like you said, create an ecosystem by being a creator and a contributor in content, but they just are click farming. That's why my growth has been slow and steady, because I don't talk about things to get clicks. I genuinely want to help people understand basic principles of not only the technology, but investing in general. It's served me well over the past 6 years. And to date in this market, I'm up 80%. I personally just want to share all of that with people to help them achieve whatever
yeah.
goals they have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite interesting because I was giving a talk to the Mays Business School because I got into Bitcoin really early in 2012. And I never talked of it in terms of a speculative as a standpoint. I always talked about it in terms of a diversification. And, like I said, you don't have all your portfolio in one asset class, because if that asset class goes away, you're SOL. So you always want to diversify. You want to have like small bets and kind of riskier, and you want to have like big bets in like very safe and stable. And so kind of talk about this from what are the advantages of blockchain? You talked about the higher returns, of course, the higher volatility, higher risk, but a lot of countries are looking, for example, Bitcoin or Ethereum, and they're saying that these new asset classes, they're really early, but they have a lot of unique properties that you can't find in, stocks or real estate. So kind of talk about those advantages.
Well, before I get into that, I'm going to push back on you a little bit, because if you're diversifying, that means you have different goals than someone who might be hyper-focused. I'll give you an example. My mentor, he's probably worth 100 million maybe. And I would say 99% of his net worth is in real estate. Now, inside of real estate, he diversifies in the sense that he has hotels, apartments, commercial, residential, single family homes, right? Those are all different subsects of that focus. But his goal was to retire at 30, and diversifying will not get you there, right? So I would say to anyone that is trying to get wealthy as soon as possible, I think focus and massive risk is how you do it. I personally am 100% in crypto. So I don't know if you'd like me. I just kind of live on the edge in that way. But I also feel like I have a responsibility to really live behind what I preach and what I teach and the funds I manage. So if it's like, if my fund's down 20%, brother, I'm down more. I promise you. Like my entire net worth is in this thing. Uh, and really the advantages. So that's my first thing. And then answering your specific question, the advantages of blockchain, there are instruments that are very conservative, but you wouldn't see them that way if you didn't understand the technology. That would be my first thing. And then the second thing really is understanding how to remain safe and how to practice good standards. So it's hard to imagine because we live in the modern world, but this technology has not even hit broadband yet. If we're talking about the advent of the internet and the arc of innovation and creation in technology. So this is like having a server in 91 without a firewall, not even knowing what that is. It didn't exist, right? Like you're as vulnerable as possible. Disney put out a website in 91, 89, that's when .com, the internet, the government had been building it 40 years, just under the hood. No one knew about it. 1989, it became commercially available. That's what .com means. And there were a crazy amount of vulnerabilities exposed in the first 5 to 7 years of technology. It's just how it goes. It's a dog eat dog world. The smartest of the smartest will set up ways to steal from the early adopters that are not technical savvy, and that's just how it's always been. So I would urge people to do, again, this is why I teach this stuff, the fundamentals, understanding what your wallet is, what the private keys are, and understanding how you're safe and why. I feel like that is where I would start, because after you get that fundamental understanding and comfortability, you would find a lot of conservative options. One of which would be Ether. It's a very cool asset. It acts like a treasury bill with way more upside. And the fact that you can own it, it could appreciate anywhere from, I personally have a price target of Ethereum at around 10,000 in the next 18 to 24 months. You could get 800% and also be getting a 5% yield by staking. And when it's staked, it's as safe as it can be. But all of that probably sounds like gibberish to the day one crypto person, right? So always recommend learning the basics first to get comfortable in doing that. But again, like 5% of your portfolio could outperform, for the average person that isn't crazy like me, like really 5% is a modest, you should already have that allocated to high growth. You know what I mean? Like it's a modest amount that could absolutely outperform the other 95% of your 401k, IRA, or whatever else you have going on. So it's worth eating glass, the people that eat glass before the rest, by the time it's normal and easy and you don't even know you're using the technology, all the gains are gone. It's going to be as stable as stocks. Be bold. That would be my advice to get those advantages. Just be bold and read the articles, watch the videos, be on podcasts like this with smarter people, and just learn.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points, and especially if you know what you're doing, if you basically have an edge in then focus. Of course, if you want to kind of spread your risk and kind of just have some exposure, diversify. You're not going to make as much, but at least you have some exposure. And but it's there's really a technological learning curve, and it's like huge. It's like if you don't understand that you're lost, like setting up a wallet, how to safeguard your private keys, how to all these things, how to all these scammers on Discord and Telegram and all social media, but they say that's the wild west. So but kind of talk about. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, just so people know this, because I try to talk about this all the time. On my videos, any creators' videos in my space, you will see random accounts saying, thanks to XYZ, I withdrew my Bitcoin finally, or something like that. Those are all scams.
Yeah.
Those are all scams, and they're everywhere. They're on YouTube. Like wherever I make a video, I got 4 to 5 of them trying to get you to DM them and get your keys. So just
Yeah.
literally ignore all of that. No one ever that's credible will ever ask for your keys, nor will they even store them.
Yeah.
Like if you make a MetaMask wallet, they give you your keys, you cannot recover it. There's no customer support line. They don't even have it. If they get hacked somehow, there's nothing for someone to take. They don't store anything, any personally identifying information at all. It's
Yeah.
on the blockchain. Your public
Yeah.
key is after you make the wallet. That's it. So yeah, continue. I just wanted to get that dig in because I've recently been contacted about that scam, and I just want to bring awareness to it.
Yeah. Or people just, putting kind of like malicious links and just like don't click on any links, kind of if they say something, kind of verify it through the, original source, don't go through them. 99% of DMs are scams. So
Like ignore them.
yeah, so talk about what is this? You talk about how the future of technology will unfold in the next 10, 20, 30 years, especially Web3, AI, digital assets, creators. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, man. I probably don't sleep enough because of it, because I'm so excited, but contemplative always. In 10 years, I believe online and on chain will be indistinguishable. I think online will almost expire as an idea, or maybe on chain and online will be synonymous. There won't be a distinction between the two.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we need to understand that blockchain and going on chain and all this other stuff, either through blockchain or DAG or Hashgraph, whatever it is, distributing computing in general is an order of magnitude better. And in computer science, that has been true always. Like that theory has been true always. The issue is Moore's law was not there yet. We had to catch up. The difference now is retail customers are walking around with enough computing power that it was like the size of, the twin towers of computers back in the day, just in your phone. You know what I mean? Like that much computing power relative to, the 70s to now is in your phone. Like you can borrow a marginal amount of computing storage and processing power from devices at a retail price and pool a collective amount of it greater than the cost of mass producing under one company. So to make that simpler, right now, Amazon owns every step of the stack, right? They own the UI, they own the servers, they own your login credentials, your transaction history. It's all theirs. It's all Jeff Bezos, property, and you agree to all of their terms when you use software, right? That's how it works. And
Yeah.
the bottleneck to their ability to support a growing population is predicated on their budget. And that's purely it. Where if they could have every customer contribute a little bit when they use the software, they would dramatically reduce their costs. They would dramatically improve their security, because the more nodes on a network, the more random it is, and the more difficult it is to compromise. I could list off 20 reasons why distributing computing as a theory is greater than monolithic structures. And that is why people need to understand, like, the basics of this are here to stay. Even if Bitcoin goes away or something else, the fact that there's a distributed public ledger that is maintained by millions of nodes is far more secure than any monolithic structure with a single point of failure. And there's just like these fundamental truths of this technology that you can't argue. And all we're doing is speculating on what will last as this long tail of adoption sets in. So I believe in 10 years, we will have everything on chain or some form of distributed computing network will support everything we interact with, from real world assets, stocks, bonds, to video games with NFTs and everything else. I'm very confident you won't even know that you're interacting with tokens and worried about a wallet. Our interface, it's so hard for people to imagine, but eventually the UI and UX will be seamless. You won't even know it's different because we're talking about an infrastructural change to computing as we know it.
Yeah.
And right now, if I were to walk up to 100 strangers, I bet one could tell me how it works today. So it's not like anything's going to change from, a customer's perspective or the people that might be listening to this podcast. It's just that technology is profound. In 20 years, I feel like the majority of our work and play will be virtual.
Yeah.
If you were to analyze your life and go back 10 years, 20 years, what percent increase are you spending online?
Online, probably 60%, 60 or 70. It's like all on like social media. It's like LinkedIn and Instagram, like Twitter, just like creating stuff, watching streaming videos, YouTube.
It's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You're on the internet. I mean, if your router goes down in your house, how useless do you feel?
Yeah, it's like your SOL. Take the day off.
I can't do anything. I got all my jokes and I got nothing. Yeah. I got to go to this library I haven't been in 4 years because I prefer podcasts. I can't even listen to those. Literally, we've spent so much more time. And do you think that trend, that direction that society and the world is walking is going to change or decrease? Do you see a curtail of that behavior?
Well, I see more like people are going to put on like their Oculus or like their HoloLens or something and then just go into like these metaverse rooms and interact with people. We could be doing a podcast in a metaverse people can be like basically a virtual Twitter, basically go to the town square and just tweet, keep tweeting,
That's what I'm suggesting, that behavior, that social trend is only increasing over time. We're only spending more and more time online. Our social notoriety online is more and more important. We even see digital property rights becoming an actual concern. Cancel culture is an attack against digital property rights. All of these things are congruent and symbiotic with blockchain technology. There's no sense in why isn't a metaverse here? Well, there's no sense in investing billions and billions and billions of dollars on a public digital space that cannot be instantly monetized. And you don't have the ability to actually own things. What blockchain allows us to do, amongst a lot of other things, is establish digital property rights. The difference between me walking around in an Oculus on Minecraft is that Minecraft is owned by, I think, Microsoft or whoever the developer is. They own everything, and you got to pay to be there and all this other stuff. Where in the metaverse, we all could own every blade of grass. Like there will be a deed, a token, an NFT, some form of way of establishing a chain of ownership, no different than a home for a pixel by pixel, space in this town square that you talk about. And it's the unlocking of digital property rights is what's going to create that world. And that is true as time. No nation succeeds without property rights. That's just a fact. If there's no property rights, there's zero incentive for anyone to do anything. The only reason we're on this podcast right now is because you own this cast and I own whatever content from this. It's mine. That's my incentive. If I didn't own anything and I had no way of making money, why would I even be here? Why would you be here? We wouldn't, is my point. We would be like in war, probably as children. That's what happens. Like go look at Africa where there's no property rights and tell me if it's a nice place, For us to advance, we need digital property rights, and blockchain delivers that amongst a lot of other things. But 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to be a different world. That's not even talking about AI. That's just blockchain. Like AI is going to run through the Human Genome Project. I don't think we're going to have any disease that we can't cure by 2050. Like, I don't know. It's good you're doing podcasts because I feel like, AI and robots are going to take a lot of jobs, everyone's job. I mean, doctors, lawyers. we got smart contracts and AI that can do a lawyer's job. Like it's not that hard at this point, Yeah, we'll just do all of our verbal agreements and smart contracts, run it through a validator if someone did something wrong, and then have an instant decision because there's clear breach. Like there's no arguing. Like I think we're all screwed. So hopefully everyone can diversify, because I think content will always be here. Ever since 1954, TV has encapsulated us, and it's only done more. It's just the medium has changed over time, but still, this is probably the most secure income we could have.
How can people contact you, follow you, reach out to you, check out your work, follow you on social, etc.?
Yeah, just my handle, JT Knows Things. From there, you can find my link tree and take a look at, everything I'm working on, my hedge fund, my consulting firm, my content, of course. And from there, yeah, we can talk. Or if you need help with anything and you're confused, if you're setting up a wallet or something, I'd love to help. That's why I make this content. So
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah. And let's thank Jake for coming on. He's a really interesting character, and a lot of interesting ideas. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris. It was a pleasure.
First, the bad news. SAP Business AI won't help you generate cubist versions of your family's holiday photos. But it will help you understand which supplier is best to help you roll out your plant-based packaging in Southeast Asia, or identify the training your junior project manager needs to rise up the ranks, and automate repetitive tasks while you focus on big innovations, so you can be ready for the next opportunity. Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next time.